Liam, in the circumstances, particularly after the last few days, which we'll get into in due course, but just give us your thoughts on that win and that performance from your side.
Excellent win in terms of what we needed, I think, for the lads. In elements of probably validation for elements of how we've been performing to date. I think, arguably there was bits against Middlesbrough that were as good as today, but we don't win. Definitely I think it's an important one for the lads and another experience that will allow us to develop trust, connections, tighten the group, I think, and then when you kind of analyse the game, I thought first half we played some excellent stuff. I thought we created some really, really good opportunities. Obviously Sargent had a couple of really good moments, and I enjoyed watching large elements, albeit with, again, a few moments that we cause ourselves some issues. But again, I understand that's, the lads are human. That's probably where we're at a little bit, some nerves and a little bit of anxiety in wanting to do well and wanting to deliver. And again, I think, to come in one up with obviously them down to 10, you then naturally know second half. We'd love it. I'd have loved it if we'd have just gone and dominated the ball and had complete control and scored early and been able to relax a little bit. But obviously it was again, when you're playing against a well-organised side that have got can take risks and can a chasing to a certain extent. It's one of those where you saw it last week, us against Middlesbrough. It doesn't always flow how you'd like to, and what the expectation is when it's 11v10.
And amongst many pleasing aspects for you would be that control and territorial control and control of the ball, which you had in the last two home games. The crucial difference today, you haven't given anything away at one end, but you've got yourselves in front, and it's given you something to build on, hasn't it? That just shows the progression maybe inside. Yeah,
definitely. I think Kenny was huge in terms of him coming back, the control he gave us. I think it allowed us to kick Ben higher. And I enjoyed the purpose with it. I thought we attacked really well. I thought, we had elements of control, but there was shots at the end of it. We moved up the pitch well and caused problems that way. So, it's definitely we're at that stage at the minute where you've got so many new lads that, together, but also in the Championship where, it is about connections, it is about experiences. And like I said, today's a really important one for us to be able to reflect on and, in future situations, how do we manage it? And then especially with the international break, having 2 weeks off going into it off the back of a win, quite important as well.
Talking of new players and talking of connections as well, first time in the league, you've started with Quistguard and sort of in and around Sargent. Just give us your sense on how that sort of went as a pair, really, those two playing together.
Yeah, I thought it showed some really good moments. I think, when you look at it, he had a really good moment. I think, where Yakov hit a diagonal to him first half, they received on the edge of the box, and I think it just gives us something slightly different to what we've had before in terms of people willing to run beyond. And again, I think that talk about systems and shapes, but what I liked about elements of first half today, we're brave enough to play it. I thought Kellen opened out and slid Ante down the side a lot more than say what he did previously. So I was really pleased with elements of that and the bravery to go and do it and take risks and try and play forward and create. And that's why for me, when you look at it, it's quite an attacking lineup that we picked.
And particularly with him as well, you can see we've seen enough of him now in the Norwich shirt. Quistguard, his natural instinct is he wants to get in the box, he wants to get on the end of things, and can that actually take a little bit of the sort of focus and away from Josh? The defenders don't just have to worry about him. They've also got another player with those instincts. He just wants to get on the end of service.
Yeah, definitely that. Definitely in terms of the goal threat, he's like I say, his willingness, it allows Sarge to drop in at times, and because Matthias is then willing to run, and at the same time when Matthias is a little bit lower, Sarge can then threaten. So those counter movements in that top line are really important. And like I said, those connections, obviously it's taken a little bit of time with Matthias to get him up to speed with what his summer looked like and where things have been at. But he's the minutes will be massive for him today, and the experience and the confidence he should take. So hopefully we can keep building on that.
Just to clarify on that one, Liam, was that basically behind why you got him off relatively early in the second half, just managing his load and the amount of minutes he's had, because he obviously did come to the camp pretty late in pre-season?
Yeah, that and up until then, that obviously we'd managed to. I thought the first 10, 15 in the second half, we did an okay job of controlling the ball. And I think naturally then when you lose a bit of space in behind, space changes. And again, I think that's why I went with Emmy. I think Matthias put in a really, really good shift first half, and then I think again when they're in a deeper block, it changes in terms of the type that you need to get success. It obviously didn't flow exactly like we wanted to second half, but big for the lads in terms of like I say, the togetherness.
Obviously we have to reflect again on Sargent and his impact. 6 goals in 6 games at the start of the season. It's an unbelievable return for that player as well. But just again his all-round game and that focal point, and he's clearly now one of the big leaders in this team, isn't he?
I think you've outdone him there. 6 and 5, isn't it?
6 and 5, is it?
I think you'll
Yeah,
find
sorry,
6
Rob.
and 5. Yeah, you won't be happy with that. Yeah, you see the threat he carries. You know, the movement, the sharpness to get him behind for the penalty. I think it produces such high level actions. And again, I gave him a bit of stick again because for me, obviously, had a couple of other really good chances, which for the standards I know he sets himself. You know, he'll take in future. I think that's the biggest bit. But he epitomised everything. I think if you look at him and Kenny, the leadership that they're developing and showing and bringing to the team was really important today. And like I said, I'm delighted that Sarge has got off to such a good start.
I know there's sort of 2 days left in the window, but is the sense that you can keep him? I know you can't say definitively anything, as the last few days have proven, but it is the sense from you and the rest of the people who matter inside the club that he will still be here beyond Monday.
Like you said, hold me to anything. As it stands, that's where I see it being. But I don't promise. It's nothing I'm aware of at the minute. So I think it would have to take something unbelievable for anything to be done. But again, like I said, I would never want to throw some words out there that get held against me. So no, as it stands, I think he's shown. You see at the end there how all in he is on the club. And again, I think he, like I say, epitomises everything we want in the lads.
You didn't give him any minutes today, but one signing you've made there in the last few days, Pella Matson, feels like one that you've clearly tracked as a club for quite some considerable period of time. Just give us your thoughts on bringing him into the building, what you think he'll add maybe to the mix.
Yeah, delighted to get him in. It's not been no secret we've been trying for quite a while. I think, he's someone that has got decent experience, really really good all rounder. I think in terms of defensively, but quality with the ball as well, and elements of. Especially high up, some of the bits that he can create. I think he's someone that, like I said, he's still at that stage where he's got room for growth and improvement. But someone that's already, shown he can perform at a really high level. So we're delighted to have him in. Really look forward to working. It was obviously a quick turnaround. He did a bit of the session yesterday and travelled up with us. So delighted to have him in and look forward to working with him. Just
for people who are maybe not too aware of him, I mean, where do you see him slotting in? Is he more of a 6 type? Positionally can obviously be very flexible, but is that where you see him operating in those deeper line positions? Yeah. Got to ask you about the Nunes thing because it's obviously gone through now. Just give us your overall thoughts on that, and maybe also zoom out a little bit and how that's played out. I'm sure you've been aware of maybe the reaction amongst the fan base.
Yeah, totally understand it. Trust me, no decision was made without thinking through the impact it would have and what it would look like, but. I think it's one of those. I think, when you look at it, it's ultimately we had somebody that didn't want to be here, that had said he didn't want to play in the Championship, but then didn't want to sign a new deal. And then when you get to that position, I think it's difficult then, because ultimately, and I think you see it on the pitch at the end. What we want is everybody all in on the club, everybody all in, and I think that cultural aspect of people. That are willing to go above and beyond and give absolutely everything for the shirt and the club's huge. So when you've got somebody that doesn't want to do that, and then obviously that comes to the table, it's a huge decision, which, like I said, was extremely difficult for everybody involved. But I think when you then look at it, it's one of those where we take our jobs extremely seriously, the positions we're in, and make sure that as you see, it's an incredible fee, hence because of who we've sold him to. But that then allows, in terms of investment in the squad, the academy, the club in other areas, which for somebody that could have walked out for free in January, it's one of those. You've got the emotional bit, and then you've got the like I say, the element where you also have to think around what does that allow the club to do going forward. So
I mean, just to clarify on that, but it was pretty clear when you walked in the building in the summer that he maybe indicated to Ben and Neil and those people that he didn't really see himself being part of this moving forward.
Yeah, there'd been those discussions before I came in, and it was quite clear, I think, in terms of that. I think that like I said, he didn't want to sign a new deal and didn't want to stay in the Championship. So it's an extremely strange one, and that his people brought that to the table. So it is what it is. It's like I say, we understand it. We're not not oblivious to the impact it would have and the seriousness of it. But like I said, the most important bit is having everybody all in. And for me, when I look at the lads just now in the changing room. You got to be able to trust each other. You got to be able to know that when you step on the pitch that you're willing to go above and beyond for the people next to you. And if you've got people that aren't and their heads aren't here and they're not willing to do that, then for me, I don't think we want people at the club like that.
Just following on from me on this one, from you as a head coach, moving past him. I mean, you look at we've talked about Matson. We know you brought in Topic. You got Kenny there, and you're very confident or very content in terms of your midfield mix. You've got the profile of players you feel you need now to obviously implement the style of play that you're looking to do here at the football club.
Yeah, definitely delighted with the balance and what we've got in there. And again, I think that like I said, we've got slightly different profiles, which allows us to tweak and change things. And Kenny coming back is massive as well for the group. Like in terms of when you look at how young we are, his leadership is huge. When you look at the spine with him, with Harry, with Sarge, I think we've got some people that know the league, know the level, and have you see again today. I thought Harry was outstanding as well, and I think that's what we've got through the middle of the team. And central areas, I'm really pleased with what we've got, and I'm delighted to be working with them, and think we'll grow and get better.
So just final one, I should have probably asked you in terms of outs, could it still be a little bit of movement? Maybe some of these senior players, we know the ones who haven't been involved. Could something maybe happen in those areas between now and Monday?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. There's as I'm aware at the minute, there's nothing close. But again, I know how quickly things move in the window and the nature of it, and nothing changes in the situation. And the lads we've spoken about before, we're still in that position. So we'll have to see what the next 2 days looks like.
There's a lot of talk in Scotland about Kenny McLean and Rangers. Has that come across your desk, or what would you think about it?
Well, I think Kenny's huge for us. I think he's really important. I think you see that today, just in terms of his leadership. And kind of like I said, I've had some really good chats with Kenny and made it quite clear what I think of him and how I see him. And like I said, he's a really important part of what we're trying to do here.
I think it's his club, and he's at an age when he probably wouldn't have another chance. Would it be difficult if he actually came up with a serious offer?
For me, I think in terms of look, I've had chats with Kenny. He's not intimated anything, and we've spoken about it. And that for me is concentrating on what I do know. And I know Kenny, like I said, you see him today, he's rushed himself back a little bit for the team. And again, I think that speaks volumes again of him as a person, but also as a professional. That he's able to he did about 2 sessions pre-season before he had his ankle surgery. He'd obviously had the off-season, and the fact he can get back starting a game at this level and perform like he did today speaks volumes about him as a person and a professional. So yeah, delighted to have him back.
Liam, you mentioned about Josh, just that he missed a couple of chances in the first half. That epitomised what he's about, that he just never seemed to give the defenders a moment's peace, and he gave them a real work in all this afternoon.
Yeah, he's a constant handful. I think he's so intelligent with the positions he takes up, and he's so sharp over first meters. I think you see that with the penalty. His body shape, and then how quickly he gets in behind, and he's the best 9 at the level for me. And again, I think like I said, we're delighted to have him here, and long way to continue. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Cheers, gentlemen. Safe journeys home. See you.